I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered two.
Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry. I'm Ryan Walker. Joining me is the massive Lord, Reuben Williams. We are two mates who met at Cricket Australia, and each week we learn how people made it in the sports industry. We tease out their career decisions, their work habits, skills, and everything they do that makes them great. Also, you can learn how to get in, get promoted, and get thriving in the sports industry. Rubes, how are you, my friend?
G'day, Ryan. I'm terrific, thank you. That was almost slightly blasphemous calling me Lord, but I have been to the great cricket ground over here in London. Apologies for those watching on YouTube. I'm a bit dark tonight because I've just resided in my dear friend Kiri's lovely apartment in inner East London, and the lights are coming from odd directions, but they're not coming onto my face, so that's why it's quite dark here. It's about 10 to 12 a.m. at the moment. I've just wrapped up a day 2 of Lords. We're doing it this time because I'm about to do another presentation to Australia, so it just made sense to, if I'm going to be up late, well, we might as well do a podcast at the same time. But going well. Running off a lot of Diet Cokes at the moment.
No, I love that, mate. I must say it's a different place for a pod. I mean, we're just racking up the locations of doing podcasts as of late, and about 11:53 at night in London pre-presentation sounds like a pretty good deal for me. And I thought, Lord, you've been to Lords the last couple of days. That kind of makes you a bit of a Lord now. So I hope that's okay with you.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Brilliant, mate. Well, we're going to get into the last few days in London, so let's get cracking. Aiming for a future in sport? Be ready to transform the industry. Study with Deakin and be prepared to redefine what it means to work in sport. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Science is ranked number 1 in the world. So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise and sports science, sports coaching, sport development, sports management, nutrition science, physical education, and more. Apply now to study at Deakin in 2023. If you don't follow us already, you can follow us on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect with over 550 other people working in the sports industry, I can't believe I'm saying that, Rubes, become a member of the SportsGrad community. Speaking of the community, there's been some enormous wins this week. Rubes, take us through them.
Yes, we've got 2 very special shout-outs to give. The first one to our beloved friend and member, Shekhar Sridhar, who has just landed about every single role under the sun since he's been a member, but he's got a terrific contract on the help desk at Cricket Australia in the community cricket department, and it has just been extended again. So well done to you, Shekhar, living the dream in his favourite sport. The other one goes out to Billy Bolch, who is another member who's been around for a while, had a lot of wins during that time. I believe he's also with the FIFA Women's World Cup. He might have had to give that up, actually, to take on this role. You might know more about that than me, but he has just become a membership consultant for my mighty Hawks. So I can't wait for to get the call from Billy about my membership at the start of next year. So well done to you, Shekhar, and well done to you, Billy. But if you want to get some of the similar results that those guys are getting, the community is the ultimate resource to help you get a job in sport. We also have a lot of events coming up. Every fortnight or so, we do speed networking where you can meet other members and grow your network quickly. And then every month, we also have job fairs with organisations where they come in and talk about the different jobs they have on offer and how to get hired at their organisation. And coming up this week is a job fair with Unisport Australia, where I did my first internship, Ryan, which was a long time ago now, but they are still a fantastic place to work. So one to look forward to for the community there. But if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening and you want to receive some helpful guides from us on how to get a job in sport, then definitely subscribe to our newsletter. sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter is where you can get involved. There's a link in our show notes, and we'll see you every Monday and Friday in your inbox if you do so.
Brilliant, mate. I will say a couple of things on Unisport. One, it's quite nostalgic that we've got them coming back, given that's kind of where it all began for yourself. So that's exciting.
Well,
and another thing, I realised last week we actually said that job fair was happening that week. So I apologise for those who were expecting that job fair. We had a slight change of fixture date. And we pushed it out the week. So it is definitely this Thursday for those members listening in, and for those future members who are going to join to be part of that on Thursday.
Well, actually, great timing with the Unisport Australia job fair, because the reason I'm in this apartment in London at the moment is because of my internship with Unisport Australia. we'll get to it.
That's so good.
We'll get to all the meetings that have been happening in London in a sec, but I guess this is probably one of them. Like I'm staying with my friend Kiri, who I met at a conference in Montpellier, France in 2016, when Australian University Sport said, "Reuben, do you want to be our student delegate at this conference?" And I arrived there, and there were student delegates from about 70-odd countries who were attending this conference, and Kiri happened to be the student delegate from the UK. And so got to know all these different people and have kept in touch with them over the years. And, yeah, what are we... 7 years later, we're still friends, and she's given me a place to stay for a couple of nights. So there you go. That's where an internship can lead.
That's such a good story. Yeah, that's like literally, just a story of like you have no idea where opportunities can lead you, and one of those opportunities can be traveling, and they can always come in handy. So, I love that story.
Yeah.
Speaking of opportunities and catch ups with friends and colleagues and whatnot, we like to think you're on a bit of a trade mission over there in London. Let's be honest. Seeing what it's like on the ground and seeing what's happening, looking at your inbox and your calendar and whatnot, it's been going bananas. So I think it would be great to hear sort of what's been happening over there. And then we can have a chat about Lords as well after that, because that's what I've been looking forward to.
Yeah, my partner Chloe, she said to me when we arrived in London, enjoy your 2.5 weeks. I'll see you when we get to France. And that's because I've basically just been out all day, every day, chatting with different people. But
sorry, Chloe, if you're listening right now as well. I know you would be. So
yeah, we're taking a bit of time off after this week, so we'll get a chance to hang out then. No, I think it would have been like April or March. I put up a post on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I'm coming to London. Who's in town?" And just had like an influx of messages saying, "Hey, let's catch up." And then even being on the ground here, there's more have come up saying, "Hey, I saw you're in town. I'll catch up with you." And so, like, a few people that I've caught up with during the week have been old colleagues from Cricket Australia, good mate Jack Nicholin, who is up at working for IMG up in Manchester. Friend of the show, Sunil Menon from Melbourne City FC, put me in touch with Mafe from Manchester City, which was amazing. And then our friends at Global Institute of Sport, they're starting over here in Australia, but they've got a campus out at Wembley. So they said, "Hey, let's go and chat, and we'll show you the setup for the Harry Styles concert at the moment as well." Who else is there? Oh, one of our earlier guests at the start of the year, Melissa Lawton. So she lives in the suburb that Chloe and I were staying in. So to catch up was incredibly convenient. Melissa said, "Hey, does this cafe work for you?" And it was 500 meters away from where I was staying. So I was like, that is a great coincidence. But even like people like Melissa, a lot of our podcast guests we'll get to know quickly before we chat to them, and then have an interview, do the interview with them. But we'll never really get to see them in person ever. Sometimes, like, we've still never met Aman Alawali or Aubrey Walton from the early days. So to actually get the chance to like catch up with one of our guests in another country was awesome. And we spend it now just like bouncing ideas back and forth about TikTok, because she's the chief content officer at Sale GP. But then there's a group called the Muller Group over here, which is a WhatsApp group for Australians working in sport in London. And I got added to this group and introduced myself, said, hey, we've got a meetup coming up. And one of the blokes who reached out through that was a guy called Nick Pride, who's the director of participation for the ECB, the equivalent of Cricket Australia over in the UK. And he invited me into the ECB offices just to have a chat and hear about SportsGrad. And then after that, I went and had a look at the Lord's Stadium before going and attending the matches. So I got to check out what it was like. But I just thought, like, what an awesome way to get connected in a new city where someone just says, hey, you're in sport too, come and chat, let's get familiar.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, Nick said, if you're around next Tuesday, Reuben, we're having a half-day conference about community sport, and we're bringing together people who are in town for the cricket from Cricket Australia, the AFL, and this is where it gets awesome, the NBA, the NFL, the Premier League. And I was just like, yeah, I reckon I can find time for that.
Yeah, I can find a couple of hours in my day.
Yeah. So I was just like gobsmacked by the invite, and I was like, thank you, like that's super generous. And so I arrived at this conference and met a whole bunch of people I've worked with in the past, a few people I've seen around on LinkedIn. Even there's one bloke from the AFL, James, who is also in that, sort of director of participation role at the AFL, who was in town and at this conference. He'd been messaging me saying, hey, let's catch up, Reuben. I see you're in London. I'm also in London for a short period of time. And then we happened to bump into each other at this, half-day conference. Anyway, James is super keen. He's coming to the meetup tomorrow night. So it's funny how sometimes you have to go to literally the opposite side of the world to meet with people who are literally, just down the road at AFL House in Melbourne.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I don't reckon there's, like, I feel like every year, well, not every year, whenever the Ashes is on, there's like this big, I guess, just descendants on London from like all organisations in Australia. Like people, who would have thought that like James, say, from the AFL would be at the ECB talking about community cricket or community sport. Like it's cool seeing like there's so many opportunities out there for when you are working in sport to go overseas for these kind of things.
Yeah.
When there's a super clear link with Australian sport.
Yeah, 100%. So that was phenomenal. Another one that I met up with was Stephen Lord, who's the CEO of Kojo.
Shout out to Stephen. He'd be tuning in 100%.
He'd be tuning in, and they do a lot of event pres work and have had some jobs that come through the community. But again, he's someone who, like, I've only had a phone call with him back in Australia, but we're in London at the same time, and we've seen each other around on LinkedIn a lot. And it's like, cool, let's just catch up. So and then there's been a whole lot of like podcast listeners and members who have reached out. So one of them's out working for Fulham, so I got to go and check out the training facility where he was working out of for the day.
Did you get to see Craven Cottage?
I've seen it in the past from a trip in 2011, but I was hoping that he would be working at Craven Cottage on this particular day, but he was at the training ground this day, so I got to see that instead, which was still pretty cool.
Still insane.
Yeah.
Probably bigger than Craven Cottage.
Yeah, Craven Cottage is pretty small.
Pretty intimate setting to watch football.
Yeah, definitely. But then the other one was like, there's a whole lot of members and listeners in London at the moment who know about the meetup coming out, who have just reached out and said, hey, can I help in any way? Which has been super, super useful, because I'm a one-man band over here at the moment, And when we go and do a meetup, there's usually 3 of us on deck to try and pull it all together. So I've got a couple of helpers.
We can put up the banners together.
Exactly. So have got a couple of helpers here who have put their hand up, which is really cool too. So yeah, there's just people galore at the moment around everywhere. And we mentioned on our last podcast with Tom Hickey that I'm catching up with another podcast guest, Garth Towan, tomorrow now. It's just ticked over midnight, so it's Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday. And Garth has very kindly offered me his spare ticket, which I still have to pay for, but the opportunity to buy a ticket to Lords doesn't come around too often. So, just another way.
Will you be in the area where you're all wearing the members' ties and pouring champagne into glasses, or where will you be based?
No, we'll be in the lower mount stand, I believe. No, we won't be in the pavilion, unfortunately. But
it was incredible watching it last night. Like the camera work, they just focus on like the members. I see just people with like wide brim hats pouring champagne and eating scones, and it is just incredible.
Yeah, it's a different world there. We'll get to Lords in a sec, but a couple of things that I thought might be interesting for listeners that came out of this conference, which is kind of like the main sort of opportunity to go and learn that I've had. Particularly for people who are looking to get into sport and looking to upskill and find ways into their dream job. There was one particular presentation about how sport should be looking to take a holistic approach to sponsorship. So the example that they used was someone like Walmart in the US. They act as an advertising agency for brands who want to use their channels, because Walmart know their customer so well through all the different channels that they know best where some sponsor should be directing that money. And this particular company presented a way that sport can collate all that information and say, hey, we know best what our customers look like. This is the best way to kind of distribute your money across all the different channels. And one thing that came up from the people in the room was that whilst the technology that these guys would talk about was terrific and this problem they were trying to solve is amazing, they said that there is a skill gap in people who understand data. So the people on the ground in the sporting organisations not being data literate enough to be able to use something like this to the best of the ability, which kind of like as soon as I heard that, I thought, what an opportunity for people who are out there looking for something to do, looking for something to learn, to go out there and, teach yourself how to analyze a massive spreadsheet of Excel data, or how to use Google Analytics better, or even just, teach yourself, Facebook ads or Google ads, because the principles of that convert in so many different ways. And so that was kind of one thing that stood out to me, that like at these conferences, there's always like a lot of insights and a lot of learnings, that are changing the way sport's happening. But that comment kind of drilled down to me, like, here's actually one tangible thing people can go and do to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and we hear this all the time, right? Like, people are always looking for people who can work with data. Like, if you think about it, it's probably a newer type of skill to have in terms of the industry. Like, it's probably only been a huge factor in the last 10, 15 years. So, there's always going to be marketing coordinators sort of growing on trees. But this data space is something that if you can master that now and early on, it kind of, it assures you a job going forward. So for those interested in that, it's a no-brainer. There's so much stuff online to be able to learn, right? Like, all you need to do is go on YouTube, and there'll be online lessons and everything on there that you can sort of hone your skills. So it's good to know that that's a talking point overseas as well as here, because we do get that feedback talking to organisations all the time, that they're looking for just superstars who love data and can tell stories out of it.
Yeah, well, I think no matter what your job is, if you understand data and know how to use it within your role, you're going to be much better at your role. So it's just how can people add an extra string to their bow? But my favourite session of the afternoon came from the NFL of all people, Ryan, and it was delivered by
Great friends of the show as well.
Yep, and it was delivered by their UK. The person who delivers participation for the UK for the NFL in the UK, and he was speaking about how the NFL leverages Super Bowl to start the fan journey of new people overseas, and because typically that's when people tune in for the first time. But so then how do they carry that on? Because there's no NFL for another 6 months after that until the season begins. So so how do you get them on board and create stronger fans over time? And one of the things I've come up with is the growth of flag football, because one of the biggest problems that the NFL has is that it's extremely inaccessible to play. You've got to, and the problem that they shared was you have to be a very large male to be able to play NFL, which a lot of the world are not.
Yeah.
So by introducing flag football and making it a lot more accessible and easier to play, there's less barriers. Once you start playing, you get more involved. You might watch more. You might buy another shirt. And so now they're literally running tournaments out of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this weekend for thousands of kids and other participants who want to get involved somehow. And it was just very cool to kind of hear this case study about how they've started with this problem and seen grassroots as a solution and a new way to play as part of that solution too.
Yeah, that is super interesting. You are right. You can't play unless you're super, super, super athletic or humongous.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see why that's a problem. But American football is really big in the UK, right? I know. Yeah. I think they play a game at Spurs Stadium every year. So it's interesting how it's just kind of going bananas over there.
Yeah, and on that point, when we went to visit Trafalgar Square, the Major League Baseball had run an activation taking over the entire space. You could, I was kind of just hoping to see Trafalgar Square just as a nice little picturesque setting, but instead they had a batting cage where you could hit a baseball at Trafalgar Square, in front of the fountain and all that. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Love that. That's kind of cool. I certainly didn't set up when I was last there.
Yeah. But then the other thing has been the Lord's Test match. So I've been to days 1 and 2, and after the meetup, I'll wake up on Saturday and head over to day 4. But for those who don't know what it's like or want an inside, the main difference between Lords and any other cricket event that I've been to or any other sporting event that I've been to as well is just the history that's attached to this place. Because when you arrive, you get the feeling that you are in a place that is so highly regarded by every single athlete and administrator who's ever come through there that you feel how sacred of a place it is. And a lot of it is protected. So when I went to the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, it was lights, music, fan announcer, whereas at Lords there's none of it. It's a very, very different feeling. It's really for the proper people who appreciate the game and just the game. Even today when Josh Hazelwood came out to bat, I just noted to myself hang on, they didn't say anything else other than Josh Hazelwood. There was none of the next batsman for Australia coming up is, give it a round of applause. No music, none of that. It was just Josh Hazelwood, clap, and then out you go. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird for people who really love the hype and the energy of a place, because it doesn't quite have that.
Yeah.
But it's got the prestige, and half the time you're just kind of looking across the ground, marveling at these icons of the game, Smith, Root, the rest of them, playing at the home of cricket. So it was pretty surreal in a very different way.
That's crazy. I didn't realize it was so not subdued, but like they kind of haven't really jumped on the fan engagement, fan experience type thing, which is interesting because like every single cricket ground in the world almost is, has gone the other way. That is like, let's embrace the lights, the music, everything. So it is kind of cool that there's this one place where it's just proper.
Yeah.
And it's just about the cricket. And there's no other thing that we worry about. It's just, let's watch the cricket and appreciate it. So, they did on the broadcast, they did like a drone. A drone took you through like the front door all the way up to the change rooms and out onto the ground. And just looking at it, it's just like it's just crazy to look at. Like, it's just history. Yep. It's all history. It's all just well kept, and it's just perfect. So, yeah. Yeah.
There's so many traditions there. Like, they've got this famous bell that they ring to signify it's like a 5-minute warning before the start of play. And like, they have a different notable person ringing the bell every single day, which is quite a cool thing. I kind of like that little bit of tradition.
Yeah, so I had Kevin Peterson ringing it on the first day.
Yeah, yep.
Which is always good to see KP in the limelight.
Yep,
he would have loved that.
Exactly. But whilst like some of the other Test matches in England are like a great sort of like fan event, and you got a lot of kids and families come along, Lords is like very much a who's who event. So like from across the park, I could see Craig Hutchinson was there. I bumped into Kumar Sangakkara, like I think he's the 4th or 5th leading run scorer of all time. You've got all the cricketing greats who are there. Bumped into the SportsBet boys, the Grubs, even
the Grubs,
Shepmates, the TikTokers were there too.
Nice. And
then bumped into a couple of the old heads of department at Cricket Australia, Auntie Beggs and Nat Davey. Nat was head of marketing, Auntie was head of fan engagement. They said they were there with Ben Crow. So there's just like all these people who come into town for this one event. Joel Selwood, another one. So yeah, it was a very cool event to be a part of.
Nice. No, it certainly sounds it. It certainly sounds a who's who event.
Actually, I've got one more funny story that came out today, which I haven't told you yet. And so,
this would be good.
So, when we're at Cricket Australia, they give away a lot of merchandise that can't be used anymore because of change of sponsor or whatever. And so I have a full Australian Test kit at home, which includes the cable knit jumper. And I thought, on one of the days going to Lords, I want to wear the full Aussie Test kit and just go full nuffy, or as one English person described me, a full kit wanker. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do that for a day. And as I was walking into the gates at Lords, one of the security guys came up to me and said, "You can't go in dressed like that." And I just kind of jokingly said, like, "Oh, it's okay, mate, I'm playing." And then I got a cheap laugh out of that from the people around me. But then he's like, "Nah, I'm serious. You can't go in there dressed like an Australian cricketer." I'm like, "Oh, why is that?" He's like, "Because we don't want you running onto the pitch or pretending to be a player or walking somewhere you shouldn't. Like who's that guy who dresses up as players and like randomly stands in a line?"
Yeah. I forgot his name, but he did like a silly amount of events and managed to get on.
Yeah. So, yeah, people who don't know, there's this bloke who dresses up as players and goes into places he shouldn't, most notably on the ground, and people don't know the difference. And so it's created this new level of security check at the front gate that is impacting me and my abilities to support the Australian cricket.
That's so annoying.
I know. So they wouldn't let me in unless I got changed. So I had to go to an op shop around the corner, find a new shirt and shorts.
Oh my God.
So I went into this op shop, bought a new outfit. The only shorts I was prepared to wear were too big. And so I had to ask these two ladies, "Can you like please pin up my shorts for me?" Neither of them had any idea how to. Thankfully, this woman behind me says, "I'm a dressmaker. Stand still. Put your arms up. I'll pin it for you." So I was like, "Thank God you're in the shop at the same time."
Oh my God.
And I said, like, how long have you been a dressmaker for? She's like, "Oh, only the last 3 years, but I made Paul McCartney's wife a dress last week." I'm like, okay. So what I'm taking out of this is that Paul McCartney's wife is, I'm getting dressed by the same person that Paul McCartney's wife gets dressed by. So
that is insane.
Yeah. So then came back.
What was the kit? Just like collar, shirt, and shorts?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
The blue one?
No, it actually ended up being quite good because it was a red linen shirt, and it was it was Ruth Strauss Day, a charity day to raise money for the Ruth Strauss Foundation, similar to the Jane McGrath Day at the SCG.
I did say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was actually good that I ended up wearing appropriate colours for that. But I came back in with a brand new kit 15 pounds later and got in. When I arrived, it was on 99, and I was like, "Oh my! Like, get me in there! Please don't score too quickly." And thankfully, got to see him score his ton, and then enjoyed the day wearing my regular person outfit.
That is so good. I can't believe you went to an op shop and got a kit done by Paul McCartney's wife's dressmaker. Yeah. That's so flattering though. You can't, like, this guy's ruined it for everyone. You can't go to the cricket now in full whites.
I know. And I'm like, I've packed luggage for like 5 months away, and a decent amount of my bag was taken up by the Australian kit, and I didn't even get to wear it.
Oh, come on. Turn it up, security.
I know. Anyway, so that's London.
No, very good. Nice, mate. It sounds and looks elite. And, yeah, what an experience. Get to go to Lords and meet all these awesome people. And we're recording this before the meetup, obviously, but the fact that there's going to be 130 people in sport in London at a SportsGrad meetup, I think that'll probably put the cherry on top for you.
Yeah.
Which is going to be absolutely unreal. So, yeah, bloody exciting, and it's good to see. It's been a really awesome experience for you.
No, thank you. No, it's been good. I think SportsGrad UK might be on the cards depending on how this event goes.
Bit of a spoiler, perhaps.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see. We will see.
That's it.
Our next episode is going to be Wimbledon, hey? So something to look forward to for those tuning in. Heard about Lords. I'm sure Wimbledon will probably have a similar feel.
Yes.
Given that is a bit of a who's who event as well. So, no, that's super exciting.
Yep, I'll probably leave the Australian Test outfit at home for that one, I think.
Maybe you could wear normal kit, but just take the sweater.
Yeah.
Because that would be a bit of a vibe. And go to any Aussie playing.
That could look quite nice, just draped over the shoulders.
Yeah. The cashmere sweater.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. No, very good. All right. Well, it's good to hear you're okay over there. Haven't got any calls late at night, so it's great to hear that you're all
apart from this one.
Apart from this one, yeah.
Well, late night for me at least.
Yes. You got to run to this prezzo as well, by the way. So we better wrap this up.
Yep.
All righty, mate. Good stuff. If you'd like to ask us a question or ask any of our friends in sport a question, just become a SportsGrad member. Each week we jump on virtual events like speed networking, job fairs, Q&As, basically all opportunities for you to meet people in sport and get any info you need from industry professionals regarding your career. So, as I said, job fair this Thursday with Unisport, awesome opportunity. So you can jump on that straight away. And all these sessions are recorded. So you've got a library of content ready for you as soon as you sign up, all which is exclusive to our SportsGrad community members. So find us on LinkedIn, give us some love with a rating if you enjoy the show, subscribe on Apple and follow us on Spotify. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Hey guys, one last thing before you go. If you'd enjoy a quick email from us each Friday on all the latest job openings, networking events, Q&As with industry professionals and latest podcast episodes, then subscribe to the SportsGrad newsletter. Head to our website www.sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter to subscribe. There's also a link in our show notes to join.